I'm Sid. I'm the gal behind Lucky Lady Quilt Co. And I am making a custom vest that is made out of the duck canvas and shearling fabric that I love so much. So basically what happened was someone had reached out and she had been supporting my shop since the very beginning. She was actually the first person to reach out to purchase one of my coats that wasn't like technically friends or family. So when she reached back out again asking for one of the vests, I said, yes, I'm happy to make one. Basically, she wanted a quilt design incorporated to the vest. So I went into Procreate and drew up a few little sketches of some ideas that I thought could be fun. And we ended up on this one, and I kind of just threw in some random colors, and she actually really liked them. I found the colored duck canvas fabric on Etsy, and then I already had like the base brown color. And the only thing was the shop that I ordered the duck canvas from was, I think they were actually located in Germany. And so I went to track the order and it wasn't tracking. And I was like, oh no, it's like lost in the world. So I reached out and the lady said that it just takes a couple weeks. So I think it was like a week delayed, meaning I am lightly behind schedule. So I'm actually gonna try and make this vest in a day. I think I can do it. I am more curious to see if I can, but I do want to get it to her as soon as I can. So we will see. But yeah, anywho, thank you for tagging along and let's get into it. Okay, so all the colored duck canvas fabric arrived. So I'm ready to start cutting this. And since this is a new design that I haven't made before, I made this like tiny little diagram, and it pretty much just walks me through the strips that I'm going to need to make. So I'm gonna have to make 3 different strips using the all of these colors, and so I will have to make sure to sew strips 1, 2, and 3 together, and then the following row. So each of these will be a strip, and then I will sew them together. And I'm using the same. So this was from the custom coat that I made not that long ago, and I'm pretty much following the exact same measurements for how I made the Lone Star. This is my guiding measurement tool because I'm a hoarder and I keep my scraps. I'm also going to be timing this since I want to really try and get it done in the day. So right now it is 9:30 a.m. and I'm going to start cutting the fabric, and then I can make the Lone Star and then assemble the coat. So we'll see if we can get it done in a day. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and start timing myself. Let's get into it. I would love to find a better way to cut my fabric strips, especially since it's so important that they're all the same width, since it'll impact the build of the star down the road. But for the most part, I am doing the best with what I have, and it seems to be working out okay for me. But yeah, I'll just go through and I'll sew the colored strips together, and I'll do this for the 3 different rows that I'm creating. So this is the first one, and then I'm gonna do the exact same for the following colors. Okay, so I didn't take into account seam allowance when I was mocking up my strips. So these are gonna be a 1/4 inch smaller than what these stars were. However, I think it will still be fine since I'm adding the extra row, but I am a little nervous that it's gonna be too small for what I want it to be. But it'll be fine. So I ended up sewing my 3 strip chunks together, and now I'm going to press open the seams, and then I'm going to cut everything on a 45-degree angle, and then I'm gonna lay out the star, and it will be the moment of truth if I calculated the measurement correctly, even though of course I was just kind of eyeballing it, which is fine. But yeah, I do have enough fabric if I need to make bigger strips. However, I'm really hoping I don't, because I preemptively like cut a bunch of strips. So I'm just gonna test the ones that I did make and hope for the best. Okay, I finished ironing all of the strips and it is now 10:30. So I've been working on this for an hour. Now I'm just gonna cut these into tiny little strips and then assemble the Lone Star. So we'll see how long that takes. I do think that this quilt block is one of the more daunting quilt blocks, but once you're actually making it, it's not that bad. It's pretty much just sewing the strips together and then cutting out smaller pieces on the 45-degree angle. And then the hardest part is putting the pieces together so the points match. But overall, it's pretty easy. It just takes forever. Okay, I think the measurements are gonna work. I am planning to use half of the star for the front part of the vest and the other half for the back part. So I think once I sew everything together, it will perfectly fit within the sewing pattern that I have. So I'm gonna go ahead and sew all the strips together, iron the seams, or press the seams open, and then I will sew this half of the star and then this half together, and then I will work on my quilt math, which might be my least favorite part of quilting. Even though it's like so easy to figure out, but I still struggle. Anywho, so I'm gonna, once I have these sewn together, I'll start adding the kind of like, what kind of color am I using? It's like a brown khaki kind. I'll put the squares here. And then we will be done with the quilt top and can go on to next steps. But yeah, I actually really like how the colors turned out. In the drawing that I had originally sent over, I had the red and the pink flipped. However, I have like a personal issue with putting red and green together when it's not Christmas. And I need to get over it, but I thought that this looked a little bit better. So we ended up in this with this design. So this is the tedious task of making sure that the points line up, and I find it to be relatively impossible, but possible. So I need to fold it in a way that when I sew it together, it's like a perfect, I don't know, it aligns perfectly. So I'm gonna struggle through, how many of these do I have to do? Gosh, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, a ton. Anywho, I'm gonna start pinning. Wish me luck. Okay, so the star is done and I'm very excited. I left it in 2 separate pieces since this will be the back piece, this will be the front piece. And then I now need to calculate how much fabric to cut from here to fill in the squares and triangles. And I think I figured it out. I've learned my lesson and I'm just gonna cut one out, test it. And if it works, I will cut the rest out as opposed to just like cutting them all out like I did last time. So yeah, I'll go ahead and start cutting this base fabric and we are almost there. All right, that might be a little big. Figuring out how to do a Y seam was by far the hardest part for me personally when making a Lone Star quilt block, but now that I've figured it out, I actually find it somewhat enjoyable, and it is still a tad bit tedious just because you end up doing so many repetitive Y seams that it takes a ton of time, but it definitely, you get in a groove of it and it goes by pretty quickly. So if you are doubting yourself on Y seams, you should stick with it because you will pick it up and it will become second nature and it'll be so satisfying. All right, so it's 1:45 p.m. and I finally finished the quilt top. I didn't sew the star together since these are going to be the front and the back like I said before, but this is how they turned out. I am really happy with the color layout and I think it'll be a fun pop. But yeah, other than that, I don't think I found the exact, like the perfect measurement for the triangles and the squares. I did opt for a little bigger since I would rather have the fabric be a little too big than to not have enough. I don't want to deal with like, yeah, anywho. But yes, so now that this is done, I can finally lay out the vest sewing pattern, cut out the quilt top in the shape of the front and back bodice, and then cut out the batting and the lining, which is the shearling, and then I'll have to make the bias tape out of this fabric, which will probably take a while. Then I can assemble everything. So yeah, I think part one is done of the quilt, and now we can finally put the vest together. Okay, it's 3 p.m. and I cut out the quilt top, so this is gonna be the back, and then this is the front, so it'll be more like that. Anywho, I'm gonna go ahead and cut out the lining and the batting, and then I can finally sandwich everything together. Hello, how are you? Hi. Hi, Ida. Hi. Okay, so it's 3:30 and I was able to cut out the batting and the lining, and now I'm going to attach the quilt top to the batting. I don't know what kind of design I want to do. Anyhow, I'm gonna have to think about it, but first things first, I'm just gonna attach these. I'm gonna serge around the edges, and then I will figure out what kind of thread design I want to do. So we'll see. Okay, so I serged around the edges and that's all done. So now I just need to do like the decorative stitching around the star, and then TBD on the rest of the vest. But I think I normally use embroidery thread for the stitching, and it works out really well because there are just so many different color options for embroidery thread. I'll definitely try and match this color to a thread, and then I'll do a different one. Maybe I'll do pink. Okay, so it's 5 o'clock and I was able to get through most of the vest. I still have the bias tape to make. I just finished the stitching, so I need to sew the batting and quilt top together, and then I'm gonna sew the lining together and then combine them so it's like a sandwich, and then I will sew those together. Anywho, I'll show you all of the things, but basically I have a couple hours left. So in this weird experiment of trying to finish a vest in a day, it would take more than like an average work day to get one completed. I don't know, I might finish it tonight or I might finish it tomorrow, so we'll see. Okay, I'm using my walking foot to add an extra layer of stitching right around here, and then I think I'm gonna be done. I'm not gonna add any more. I landed on just like outlining the star, so that is the plan. Okay, so I need to figure out what color to do for the binding. This is pretty much the rough version of what the vest's gonna look like. So I think I might actually go for the pink purple for the bias tape. I asked my sister and she said the red, but I think I'm gonna overrule that and go with this color. So I'm gonna go and make bias tape with this and then attach it to the pocket so then I can put that on the front vest pieces. I have thread everywhere. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna do that. Okay, so it's a new day and I actually ended up working on this vest for an extra 2 hours last night. So after 5 p.m. I ended up working until maybe like 7:30 on attaching the pockets to the vest, as well as I'll just show you. Okay, so I went ahead and did the pink bias tape because I thought it needed a color pop, but I attached the lining and I assembled the vest. So I am gonna go ahead right now and add, I think I'm gonna pivot and do this color for the bias tape around the edges and then just leave the pockets with like a color pop. So I'm gonna do that now, and then I just have to add the buttons and then I will be done. So I didn't get it done in a day, but hopefully today is the day. Hi, you wanna hang out? I finally finished the vest and I am so excited with how it turned out. I'm really hoping that it is everything that the gal who ordered it wants it to be, and she loves it as much as I do. I think that I would really like to make the same design but just change up the colors, since there's so many different color schemes you could follow. Plus, I love working with duck canvas and shearling. It was definitely an eye-opener timing myself. I thought I would be able to get done in a day with the vest, even though that's definitely an ambitious thought, but it ended up taking me at least like 10 hours the first day and then a handful of hours the second day. So realistically, I cannot make a vest in a day, and if I did, I would burn out for sure. So I think in the future, I will be breaking up the days that I'm working on a vest or a coat, so it definitely take a bit more time, but I'm happy that I at least got it out. I had a quick turnaround and I now know my limitations when it comes to turning out custom vests and coats. But yeah, other than that, I had so much fun making this and I hope you had fun tagging along. Thank you so much for watching, and if you want to catch more videos, don't forget to subscribe. So thank you again for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!